What's up? Welcome back for another episode of the Currency Club. I am your host, Whitney Styles, and today's special guest is a longtime friend of mine. He is a full-time entrepreneur. He owns a clothing brand. He owns a screen printing studio, and then he also owns multiple properties because he is also into real estate. So welcome to the show, Mr. B.A.C himself, Jovan Naves.
What's going on, people? I am Jovan Naves, originally owner of B.A.C Clothing, which I still own. Now we own a screen printing studio, so BAC Print screen printing studio, and then we always do real estate, so we're always down to do some real estate deals. I'm a landlord.
For me, I first came to know about you through the clothing line B.A.C. I told y'all Jovan was a friend of mine, so fun fact, I threw a fashion show back in 2015, and Jovan at the time, I knew he had the clothing line, so I invited him to be a vendor in my fashion show. But on top of that, I knew he did graphic design work because he did a majority of the designs for the clothing line. So I'm like, do you want to be a vendor? On top of that, I need a flyer made. And then also I need some sponsors. Do you want to sponsor? So Jovan just came through for me. And I feel like that's where our relationship really started way back in 2015. And then, it's just built from there. But I said that to say, I first became aware of you through your brand, B.A.C. So why did you start B.A.C? How long has it been around? What type of products do you sell?
So B.A.C is 10 years old right now. So it's 10 years this year. We started in 2013. It was started as like a class project type deal. So it was more so like something to do while we were in class, me and my former business partner, and we kind of just grew it from there kind of organically. We both put about $500 to $1,000 in around the time where Instagram was kind of new. So we kind of like piggybacked off of that. You wear a shirt, we'll put you on Instagram. That type of stuff kind of took off. It stands for just doing all the work or bearing all the load. So that's B.A.C. So we did everything from the designs to the website, shipping, down to the screen printing and making of the shirts. And
you talked a little bit about what B.A.C means, but talk about the logo.
The crazy part is that I probably designed 90% for the clothing line. The other 10% is by my former business partner, Francie Odish, who is my best friend in this world. And so he designed the logo. So we have a bear as the logo. It's in the middle of the A right here. The bear is our logo. He looks like a teddy bear. So he kind of just designed it all out. We went back and forth on like 100 different logos. We graphic design students, so it's nothing for us to pump out some logos. And I mean, when he did this one, we knew it was a hit.
Okay, but why the bear? You said y'all had 100 different options. Why the bear?
It's just something that connected, right? So like even doing market research or doing people trials and stuff like that, it was just something that really connected and we can just run with. Bears also stand for like health and stuff like that. And this is stuff we found out like years later. And it's like, oh, this is like really, really stuff that we want to like grow upon and stuff like that, work out. And it's kind of like an oxymoron because the way we spell bear is B-A-R-E, but we use a bear as the bear head logo.
So your logo has meaning. I also want to talk to you about the type of products you sell.
It's definitely, we're not just a t-shirt brand or anything like that. We do everything: sweatpants, sweatshirts, sweatsuits, bodysuits, biker shorts, leggings. So we kind of tailored most of our major products towards women, really, because that's who was really buying. I mean, men are kind of easier to please. The market is a little bit more limited for men. I mean, you get sweatpants, sweats, and stuff like that. Stuff we could really get our hands on and print and have control of the product instead of having to go through somebody in China or go through all of this other thing. So we just kind of found wholesalers that could ship it in within a day or two. We offer a slew of things: hats, beanies, all different type of things.
At one point, he was selling sports bras. At one point, there were windbreakers. I know he customized like a hoodie for me and turned it into like a sweater dress. So many options. It's so much more than just a t-shirt brand, which is what I need y'all to understand in case y'all not familiar with the brand. So you said something along the lines of you don't get your products directly from China. You found local wholesalers.
As we were in school and getting the first batches of clothing, I think everybody has this 24 minimum type deal. You get the shirts in, you worried about moving all the 24 before you can re-up. You really got to move like 15 of them before you even start making a profit. So I got into screen printing. So I got to apprentice for a screen printing studio in Detroit called One Custom City. He kind of put me on the game of like, this is all the wholesalers. You could just really wholesale in your stuff like 1, 2, 3 at a time, print them and ship them to your customers. And so you don't have to keep a huge stock. We kind of got control that way and started making a better profit because we just didn't have to keep that huge inventory that most startup companies have to keep.
So I'm happy you talked about how you had this intern internship and then job working as a screen printer, because I feel like that's one of the big things that separates you from other clothing brands, is that you actually have the ability to produce your own products. And when I say screen print, it's like high quality products versus some of just like the heat press type of products that people are doing, or some people are at home using a Cricut and, you know, ironing on designs. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's your starting point, if that's what's in your budget and your ability and your skill set. But my issue with those is that those products don't tend to last long versus some of the items I got from B.A.C. I might have got them 8 years ago and I still have them and the graphic is still there and intact. It might be, you know, starting to crack here and there, but it's not like one of those shirts where you're going to wash it one time and then maybe put it in the dryer by accident, or just put it in the dryer and then it just falls apart. And I feel like your prints are definitely higher quality than a majority of the vendors that I've worked with. And I say that because Jovan was the very first vendor that I ever worked with when I launched my clothing line. And he did, I want to say at least 3 different designs and multiple colors for me. So yeah, I
right?
Yes, he did the shirt that I have on. Yes, in 2 different colors. I probably first wore the shirt in like 2020. So it's been 3 years that I've had the shirt. Your print quality is superior to some of the other vendors that I've worked with. What goes into your great print quality?
I think a lot of experience. I've worked in 2 screen printing studios and on my own. So I've been working within screen printing studios for the past 8 years now, learning the processes, learning all of those things, like really being a student of the game. I was a student of graphic design when I went to Wayne State University and stuff like that. And then afterwards, I was a student of screen printing. So I know just about everything you can do with a t-shirt and how to get a high quality t-shirt out, but also like just the back end stuff like screen printing and heat pressing. All of those different type of things go into our products, and each and every product that we get out, no matter if it's to a clothing line or to a school or anything like that, or if it's our own personal stuff, we're putting in the same work with every single product, every single shirt.
Before I started a clothing line or had any merchandise available to sell, I went to Jovan and said, hey, I got this idea. I want to sell t-shirts. And we had a conversation. And I feel like you gave me very useful advice. So what advice would you give to people who may be considering starting a clothing line?
Like, it really, really has to be your passion, because it's a really difficult business. A lot of people try to start clothing lines and stuff like that. So I wanted something to always match my J's. And so my clothing line kind of provided that, but also to have just a sense of a design spirit and stuff like that. So I would really say, do your research before. I kind of did my research on every brand, from FUBU to Pink Dolphin to Diamonds to all of these different brands that you would see in all of these different stores. I did my research, and even on local brands and stuff like that, because there's Joe Coney Island in Detroit, there's District 81, there's one called Visions now. All of these different brands, I wanted to like see what they were doing, see how they looked, see how they were pushing their products, and then kind of put mine out in the market and then go from there.
Don't get in this because you think you're about to make a lot of money. Sometimes it's harder to sell a t-shirt or a product than you think. Sometimes you have this idea like, oh, my design's fire, but then an end user don't even want it, right? So you think you have this good vision, this good idea, this fire concept, and then you get it printed and you push it out and nobody even wants it. So then you're stuck with all this inventory. Because I mean, everybody's journey is different. Some people do make a lot of money right away. I did, which I was happy about, right? So when I first launched, I had inventory on hand. I had a whole campaign about how I was about to launch my clothing line and got the product out in people's hands, created a buzz on the internet. And I sold a bunch of shirts within my first 24 hours, like thousands of dollars worth of shirts. But that's rare. Like, most people don't do that. You have to have a strategy behind it. You have to have, like Jovan said, a passion. You need a whole marketing campaign. Like, you have to do something else besides print your t-shirt and pray that people buy it. If y'all from Grand Rapids, y'all done seen this man products. And I'm not saying that he's local by any means. I just feel like the city of Grand Rapids really supports you. Your product is in the streets. Your product is in people's house. What do you do for marketing?
So mine was more guerrilla style marketing. So I wanted to be in people's faces. At vendor booth, I probably did a vendor booth every weekend for like 2 years straight. Anywhere and everywhere I could be, from Ben Harbor to Muskegon to Detroit to Grand Rapids to comedy shows, anywhere, I would be there, right? And so like, it's like, you can't get rid of this dude. Like, he pop up everywhere I'm at. And so that, and also just being consistent on your online. So for Instagram, I think we went like 6-7 years straight with posting every day, once or twice twice a day. You was going to see the product, and also you was going to see the people in the product and know the people, right? We tagging people. Also, beautiful women sell anything. So if you can get Whitney Styles in a photo shoot, if you can get all of these people in photo shoots, beautiful women sell anything. Everybody loves beautiful women. Even women love beautiful women. So everything we drop has a male and a female model.
All right. Thank you for the shout out there. I agree. If a person wanted to start a clothing line, how many pieces do you recommend they launch with?
2 to 4. Keep it really limited so that your customer don't have a ton of options. We launched with our main logo and this logo. You had 2 shirts to pick from. We could put it on any color. So we were heat pressing at the time. So you could put it on any different colors, but we had a white design and a black design. Just doing that limited people's options, because when you open that up, people kind of get overwhelmed with that. So you kind of want to limit people a little bit so you can make the sale and then come back with something new a couple months later so you can make some new sales. And that's what I actually really like about like living in Michigan, is that you have 4 different seasons. You always have new merch to put out every season. So you have a hoodie season, you have this, you have that, where it's like living in hotter weather and stuff like that. It's like, dang, it's t-shirts all the time. So it's like, man, people are going to get tired of your t-shirts and stuff like that, where I could put a bear on a hoodie, I could put a bear on anything, and that thing's going to go that next season type deal.
So what colors do you find sell the best? Like the base for your t-shirts, hoodies, sweatpants, whatever. Like what colors sell the best?
The common colors, so the black and white, of course, white and black. Navies sell really well. Red, black and white. The common colors, I wouldn't fall into the mistake of trying to sell to your audience every like Jordan release. We've done it. It doesn't really go very well because people like to shelf their shoes for a while. So like they might buy a pair of shoes and they might shelf it for a year or 2 before they even bring it out. So they're not really even checking for an outfit for that type of deal, because I mean, their bodies just probably changed over the 2 years. I would go with the neutral colors, even olive booms well. That's like my sister's favorite color. So we do olive and everything.
Okay, so you said a person should start with between 2 and 4 products. If I want to launch a t-shirt line, how much do I buy right away? What is my starting inventory? Do I buy inventory, or do I do some type of print on demand service?
Print on demand is tough. I mean, I think it's what's best for who you are. Like you, I think print on demand would have worked through a certain company just because of your popularity, who you are, people trust your product, stuff like that, where some people may need to have that inventory on hand. It's just a different circumstances, right? People don't really know them. People didn't really know me before B.A.C. I'm Mr. B.A.C. They met me as B.A.C. But before then, I'm a kid from Grand Rapids, right? I wasn't really super popular out here. I was probably known in my high school, but outside of there, I wasn't known in the whole city. So having inventory on hand with me, it was a lot better, because people that I didn't know would see me like, oh, B.A.C, bro, you got something on you? Like, yeah, bro, I got something in the trunk. I kept B.A.C in the trunk for probably like 8 years, right? We just got it out the trunk. We got baby seats in there now, so it's a little different.
But friend, you did not answer my original question. How much inventory does a person need? How much would you suggest?
I would say start small. So start small. I would say start with 24 to 50 pieces. Go 24 and 24 and see how fast they move. Now you can know what to order back in, how your market is, how sizing, stuff like that. So I would say 24 to 50.
In the beginning of the interview, you talked about market research. Can you explain what that looked like for you?
As a clothing brand, for me, I kind of wanted to know like what my target market was. To this day, people still come up to me like, bro, you told me I wasn't in your target market, but I buy your clothing. So like my target market was like kids, like people in college, right out of college type deal, people with that who wanted to spend that extra income on a t-shirt. When you get to your 30s and 40s, you really ain't buying t-shirts like that. I don't think. Get so many from your jobs and stuff like that. It was one of those things that who's gonna use their income to be stylish. So that's kind of who I was targeting, and that's where the market research went, from looking at other brands and how other people did it.
Okay, so back then, your target audience was college age students, so like 18 to something. Yep. Is that still who your target audience is?
We don't actually actively try to move B.A.C right now, just because of what business our screen printing studio does. So we basically took the year off of B.A.C to kind of, I would say, regroup, but also just with all the orders we get in from the screen printing studio, there was no way we were going to do both. So we picked the bigger business. I print B.A.C for myself, but it's not something I'm actively like, oh, I need to get out some new B.A.C, I need to get out some new merch to make these sales. We're not really actively doing it. I think next year, as we get back into it, I'll be doing more market research on what's the next step. How do we grow with our audience? How do we reach new audiences, and how do we reach younger audiences? But how do we also maintain the audience that we had when we first started? I started this brand when I was 22. Now I'm 32. Everybody was buying with me has also had that 10-year range as well. So,
well, thank you for being transparent about how you put B.A.C on pause because you get into the bigger bag, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But I feel like it was important to talk about B.A.C because I feel like that was foundational to BAC Print. If you are, a Currency Club member and you watched a number of my episodes, you'll notice that a lot of people shout out Jovan. I'll ask the question, what is your favorite urban clothing line? And they'll say B.A.C. I'll say, who's your favorite Black-owned business? And they like Jovan Naves. So I was like, let me get Jovan Naves on the show so people can connect these dots in case y'all don't know who he is. So, I mean, he is a full-time entrepreneur doing many great things, but I was like, we got to provide this foundational content about like starting a clothing line.
Yep.
And what's funny is I actually just had a friend reach out to me yesterday and ask for advice about starting a clothing line, who did your printing, who does your graphic design. So I'm just like, people want this content. So let me get them these gems before we transition to the next topic. I feel like your comments were a perfect segue into BAC Print.
So BAC Print, I mean, B.A.C, B.A.C Clothing Prints, really we vertically integrated into a screen printing studio. What occurred is I was working for a company. The company really wasn't paying me that much, but they was allowing me to run B.A.C through that company. I wasn't happy with my pay. And so I kind of just went off on my own and was like, hey, I could do a screen printing studio. I saw the numbers that I was bringing in for the screen printing studio, being the manager. And so I was like, man, I could just do this myself, and kind of went off on my own, set a couple passive incomes in the way, which we'll probably talk about later. Just tightened my belt and went forward. And so that's where we're at today as a growing screen printing studio with about 3 to 4 employees.
He was courageous. He took a risk. He believed in himself. He said, I know my worth. I can get paid more if I do this myself versus working for the man. And there ain't nothing wrong with working for the man. I work for the man too. I just wanted to call out those like attributes and those qualities because I feel like we need to talk about some of the qualities needed to be a full-time entrepreneur.
You have to have work ethic. You have to have consistency. You have to have thick skin. You have to be self-motivated. You have to be able to take the punches and just keep walking to really grow a business to the magnitude that you could live a really good life. You kind of have to stick to your plan and go for it. And if you have to take a step back, if you have to get a job, I think people not watching you that much anyway. So it's not an embarrassment to take another job and anything like that. It's just more so like you just got to stick to a plan and keep on going. So it's something that you really have to work at every day, maybe even 2 to 3 times a day, especially the first couple of years that you're on your own. You're really giving yourself a job, and giving yourself overtime and paying yourself probably less than what you were making at your job, but there is freedom and there is success at the end of the road.
I have so many thoughts. One thought is also, as a full-time entrepreneur, you have to be okay with fluctuating income. And I think that's something that sometimes people don't realize, because if you have a traditional job or a salary job, you're getting the same amount of money once a month, twice a month, whatever your pay scale is. As an entrepreneur, you can make $3,000 one day, $10,000 one day, and the next day make $0. Same for a week, same per month, whatever. So I feel like you have to be okay with that, and you have to be able to plan for your life accordingly to make sure your bills get paid and your basic needs are met, with that understanding that your income is going to fluctuate. You said something like, nobody watching you that closely. I beg to differ, friend. People are nosy, especially people in graphics. They be in your business. They be trying to put 2 and 2 together about your life, but that ain't even their concern, friend. People are watching.
I think social media is a tool that if used properly, you can put out what you want to put out. I think people just kind of use social media wrong. It's social networking, but I think people kind of use it wrong. You put out a lot, people are going to be able to read into a lot. Put out a little, people can't read into too much. So it's one of those things. For my social media page, you might know I'm married. You might know I like basketball. You might know I like Jordans, and you know I own B.A.C. I'm not putting a negative out about myself. I'm not putting any transitions. I didn't even tell people I was taking a year off of B.A.C. Y'all just ain't seen nothing.
So I just want to remind you that people are always watching, even if they act like they're not watching. So you have this building, right? So B.A.C has its own headquarters now, but you didn't always have that. So let's talk about that transition, because I feel like you printed in like 3 different locations.
So we started in the Detroit screen printing studio, One Custom City, and then I was hired to come home to run a screen printing studio here, which I collaborate with now. And so that was WMCAT Screen Printing Studio. I went off on my own and I was printing in the basement of my church. So Jerry Bishop, which is at LifeQuest Screen Printing. So I was printing in the basement of my church, and it was like a dungeon. We were printing there for like, I want to say 4 to 5 years. And this building popped up, and it was like 3 blocks from where we was, and it wasn't too much money. So it was like, yo, we're going to figure out how to get this building. And we ended up getting it. So we purchased our building, and now I'm in my own basement.
Buying it like you would mortgage a house? You buying a building?
I mortgaged the building like you mortgaged the house. So this is our, we ain't leasing this. This is our building. I mean, leasing would have actually been more. We're blessed just enough to have the opportunity to get this building. And I'm basically paying the same rent that I was paying to the church to pay this mortgage. So it's pretty good.
Y'all probably know this by now, but Jovan's super humble, which I like that about him. I appreciate that about him. But I'm going to pull the stuff out of him. I'm going to brag on you a little bit because that's a big deal. But I want to talk about the artwork that's on the side of your building, because that was amazing. Who did the artwork? Who came up with the concept? Who painted?
So an artist out of Detroit named Backpack did the artwork for the building. It was through a grant that I got through the Diatribe in Grand Rapids. I kind of just had a conversation. A couple people turned down murals on their building, and I was like, look, y'all can put one on mine. The conversation they had with Backpack was like, bro, if you put Barrel and Jordans in it, he gonna accept it. That's what they did and put on my building, and it turned out great. I mean, this is a building that, I mean, if you're from Grand Rapids, you've probably driven past this building 1,000 times and never even noticed it type deal, to now it's like, dang, like Barrel is on the building. I tell my nephew it's him because you can't see the face. I'm like, yeah, we did a mural of you on the building. The person can be anybody, guy, girl. It's just a person wearing Barrel. It represents Grand Rapids to me because that's what I relate back to Grand Rapids. Barrel is Grand Rapids. We're just getting out to the world and getting bigger and bigger.
It's lit, so I had to call that out. And if y'all in Grand Rapids, drive by and see it. But I do want to talk to you about some of the cost of the building. Did you have to make any other renovations to your building?
Like, we had to get a furnace, really. It doesn't take a lot to do screen printing, so we kind of just needed heat. Building didn't come with a furnace. I guess the furnace had went down and they just closed the entire building because they weren't really using it. So the building sat vacant for like 2 years. We just needed to put a furnace in and put a little bit of electricity to run the machines that we have now. And so now we're doing a remodel upstairs where I let my aunt use it for free for her seamstress business right now. And then we're putting more electrical down here because we're getting bigger and better machinery to make it production better and more healthy for my employees.
Why is the printing happening in the basement? If your aunt wasn't there, would the printing be upstairs, or is it just ideal for a screen printing business to be run out of a basement?
Even with that space being upstairs, we can use it as an event space. We can use it as anything else, where it's like, what you really gonna use a basement for? You just gonna put storage down here. So it's like, you might as well put the screen printing studio in the basement, which we have windows that open and stuff like this. So it's much better than any other basement that we've been in. AC is down here, so they be running up my electric bill with that. The real estate upstairs of like having tours come through, having classes come through, all of that, we can save that for upstairs with the remodel. And even right now, it's just a blank space and we can grow into that. But like right now, we might as well put this in the basement where we can operate something profitable down here and maximize the space of the entire building.
Okay, I love that, because the entrepreneur mindset that you have is like, how can I create additional income for every level of this house, this building? Talk about the cost of starting a screen printing business. You said you have some machines, you're about to get some better machines, you got to buy the paints. If you're providing shirts and garments to people, how much would it cost to start a very simple screen printing business?
So a very simple screen printing business, like we started with, our machines cost about $5,000. We bought it off of Facebook Marketplace from a company that was going out of business. My dad gave me $5,000. He believed in his youngest son. I'm his favorite child, so he did it for me. He provided me with like $5,000 to like grab a machine. We've made $1 million off of this machine now. The new machine actually cost $50,000 that we're bringing in now. So that is a much bigger machine, much better machine. We'll still keep our old machine to still do different type of projects do class projects, and even my employees and mentees, they can be still working their brands and figuring out what they're going to do with their brands and stuff like that as they're here grinding it out. With a simple screen printing setup can cost you anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 really.
But does that include the paint? And I don't know what it's really called, but whatever this is.
It's different type of ink, so you can see the inks behind me. So, I mean, every container back there has to be like 100, maybe like 150 containers back there. There's big ones, there's small ones. They vary from $30 to $150 to $300. When we started off, I want to say I probably spent about $500 on inks just to get the main primary colors, like the rainbows, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. In graphic design school, I had classes on color theory. So I can kind of mix any color off of those colors, which makes it very convenient using Pantone color books and stuff like that. But really, you can start with $200-$300 worth of ink, print hundreds of shirts with that, right? And you could be reading up off of your orders.
I want to talk about cost. I want to talk about money. When people reach out to me and say they want to start a t-shirt business, they be like, how much do you pay per shirt? And I'd be like, I can't answer that. Like, there's a lot of things that go into how much a shirt costs. And I talk to them about, like, it depends on the base shirt or product that you're using, because those vary. You can get a basic Gildan tee, or you can get something else, right? But then I also talk to them about print locations, which I learned this from Jovan. He's like, where do you want your text? Do you only want it to be on the front? Do you want something to be on the side? Do you want a custom tag in the back? Do you want something else in the back? So print locations, that impacts the cost. And then depending on what vendor you use, if you need it to be rushed, there's going to be a cost for that. If you need it to be shipped out, some vendors charge you to, mail the product from one state or one city to the next. So I just be like, I can't tell you. I can give you a range based on what you want, but at the same time, I don't print shirts. I think you should talk to somebody who actually prints shirts to get you a realistic estimate. Let's talk about price. Tell people what else goes into pricing.
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. So a lot of the pricing is, and if you ever want to get pricing from us, BACprint.com. So BACprint.com. You can put a quote in. We'll get back with you within 24 or one business day, not 24 hours, but the next business day, we'll get back to you. We don't really work on weekends. We try not to. So I would say location. So how many locations you want, how many colors you want per location. Do you want inside tags? And then the quality of your garment. As Whitney said, you can use a gilding. So we send over pricing scales, basically a good, better, best type deal. So you'll get a gilding, you'll get a jersey, and you'll get a Bella canvas, and you'll get a next level, right? And so you'll get all those, and I can just describe it as, hey, the gilding is usually the school shirt, the family reunion shirt. The Bella is usually the clothing line shirt. It's more fitted, it's more comfortable, but obviously it's going to cost you more. Locally, we deliver every order. So locally, it's just within your pricing that we're going to deliver every order. So shipping, we take it to FedEx or the post office, depending on where it's shipping to. We kind of just tack that on to the order. So we ain't really making money off of the shipping or anything. We just trying to get your product to you.
All right, can we have another minute to brag about the work that you've done? Jovan has printed for Target. Y'all, Target is one of my favorite stores. And I mean, not to say that Target is the be all end all, but like that's a household name. But he's also done stuff at other like pop-up printing type things, festivals, supported nonprofits, and a bunch of other things. So talk about some of the places that you printed for.
So we printed for Target. We've printed for Amway. If you're from Grand Rapids, everybody knows Amway. Or if you really, everybody should probably know the business of Amway. They own the Orlando Magic. Printed for Amway, Lake Michigan Credit Union. We print for like the big schools in the Grand Rapids area. So GRCC, Grand Valley, Hope Network. We print for pretty much everybody, right? So I mean, Whitney Styles, we get her in. Our lowest quantity is 24. We don't have a maximum quantity. Wild Bill's Tobacco, we do hundreds and hundreds of shirts for them a month. That's why we're really getting in new machines, because we're getting in so many more orders. It's definitely a big deal. We've done all of those things, which is major, but it's like, I just really like enjoy what I do. And also like, it doesn't just come back down to screen printing. It's really like mentoring, teaching the youth. So all of my employees kind of get mentored by me. Some days I'm at work just speaking into them, speaking about like how they thinking, what's going on, what's going on in their lifestyle, what first duplex they should buy. You should always buy a duplex first. All of these things, just speaking into them so like they can be in the position that I'm at when they my age type deal, or even before, right? Because nobody really schooled me like this.
Love the mentoring and giving back to our kids and our communities. And then also, Jovan was doing what I would call like first jobs or paid internships for a long time before he even had this space. So like he said, he's bringing the kids in, they're working, they're getting paid, and he's mentoring them along the way, which is important because some people just be wanting free labor.
I'm supporting whatever they do. Some kids just come to me, they need money. All right, let's clean some screens. Let's do all of this, right? But these kids know throughout their life they can call me for whatever. And so it's like, man, I need to be picked up from this party. We don't need to be here. I'll be there in a minute. It's that type of relationship. It's that type of family now that really goes on, because it's like certain employers, I've had that certain relationship, and that relationship just goes far. And so I just want to see these young kids become successful. I mean, I'm making money. They should be making money too. I mean, somebody just kind of has to school them to the game of like what's going on.
Because a lot of people don't have that. A lot of our kids in the inner city especially grow up in broken homes where they don't have any type of male figure in their life. And if the male figure is in their life, they may not be a positive role model. So that's so important. I want to play a little game with you. This game is called I'm a Hustler.
Okay.
What is the craziest thing you've ever done for money?
I mean, it's been a lot of like interesting things. I mean, when it comes to screen printing, we've done 5,000 shirts in 4 days, which shouldn't even be possible for what we do. I've had a t-shirt order due in Grand Rapids, been in Atlanta. It was due in Grand Rapids in 3 days. I flew back in from Atlanta to Detroit to print it. Slept in the studio the whole 2 days, printing, getting up every hour, printing like 200-300 shirts, and then brought them to Grand Rapids to be at the event an hour before the event started. So that was pretty crazy.
You can tell a lot about a person based on what they spend a majority of their money on each week or each month. Tell the world what you spend a majority of your money on.
Majority of my money really go to payroll, to be honest. I mean, your business ain't really that big unless the majority of money is going to payroll. I think if you follow me on the internet, you would think shoes, even buying a pair of shoes a week might be $200. My payroll might be at $500-$600 a week. So payroll is killing everything right now, which means your business is successful if you have that money to spend and still be making money off of that. So we basically got a couple full-time workers working for us right now.
So now I want to talk about your other business, your other stream of income, and that is being a landlord. You just hinted around to, I always tell people buy a duplex first. Let's talk about that.
I was put on game by like one of my neighbors as I was growing up. My Puerto Rican neighbor, I call him Poppy. He basically told us like, buy a duplex, live on one side, rent the other side out, you living for free. And so like, that's something that just stuck with me from when I was like 12, 13 years old. Like any house I was looking at was going to be a duplex. Like why pay the mortgage when somebody else next door is going to pay the mortgage? When I was planning my exit route from my job, it was a thing of like, all right, I should go get this duplex because my biggest expense is my rent. And so ended up getting my first duplex, did everything to it, got my hands dirty with flooring and painting and all of this stuff. It worked just how Poppy said it was going to work. So I go next door, I pick up the rent. Rent at that time was $900 a month. My mortgage was $800. So I'm making $100 off of that. And then I had 2 roommates on my side. So I'm making $400 off of both of them. So I'm bringing in $900 a month. I basically call that like the foundation to my freedom. Now we own 2 duplexes, a commercial building in our home. And so we're cash flowing pretty well off of the real estate right now, and always looking to grow that as long as my wife is down to do it.
So how did you pick the location for where you were going to buy property? Like how did you pick the actual buildings that you bought? I know duplex was one of your criteria, but what other criteria did you use when deciding which duplex or which properties to buy?
Honestly, it was duplex was the criteria. I mean, I got my pre-approval letter. As y'all know, at my job, I wasn't making much, so my pre-approval letter was low. So, I mean, I didn't have much to look at, so that's going to put you in the inner city. I mean, talking to now real estate investors now, that's where you make the most money is the inner city. I mean, you're going to have the most headaches as well. In the inner city, that's where you're going to make the most cash flow. And so I ended up looking at 3 duplexes. The third duplex, my realtor was like, nah, you don't want want this. I said, I can find another realtor if you want me to, or you gonna put the offer in, because we want this one. At the time, that duplex, I bought it for 110, and now it's worth like 260. I've never ever paid the mortgage on it because it's always been rented. Now both sides are rented, so we're cash flowing off of that. And ended up buying a duplex next door, probably like 6 months before me and my wife got married. We invested in that one too. That one's both rented, so we're cash flowing off of those too. So it's definitely a huge blessing. It's definitely what I teach all of my mentees to do. Like, yo, you should think about grabbing a duplex if you're thinking about buying a property.
One thing I want to talk about is the inner city. I hear you. I feel you. You're going to make the most profit off the inner city, like small cities, big cities. And that's because it's a convenience thing, right? Yep. So I live in Houston, and people always want to talk to me about how much I pay in rent. And I'll be like, I'm paying for convenience. I live in a condo, but I'll be like, I'm paying for convenience. Yeah, I might be able to go to a suburb and pay half the price, but why would I want to be 30 minutes away from everything? Right. Or the stuff that I'm attracted to, the shopping, the restaurants, the touristy stuff like that. Yeah, you could have a house in the suburbs, a big, nice house, but I mean, I guess it's preference too.
It's definitely preference. I mean, inner city is just, I mean, you're buying properties for lower and you're able to charge just that same rent, right? So it's definitely like, I mean, the rent might be $100 cheaper, but your mortgage might be $300, $400, $500 cheaper. So like buying in the inner city, you're getting cheaper property. And if you're able to get renters in there and tenants in there, it's definitely a good thing.
You said something like owning property in the city is a bigger headache. Let's talk about some of those headaches.
I mean, tenants is going to be tenants. So like, even if you got apartments or whatnot, your tenants are going to complain about something. Like, it's never going to be smooth sailing for anything, right? They feel like their dollar should be worth something, so they feel that they should call towards something. I think that a lot of like former landlords, I would probably slumlords, they kind of get upset and kind of try to scare people away from being landlords because they're slumlords, right? So their properties are pretty run down, and their tenants are calling on them like, "Yo, fix this, do all of that." So you do get those type of headaches. But also it's just random stuff pops up. Basements back up. One of the duplexes, I've never lived there, so I don't know what problems it has been previous, what's going on now, stuff like that. When they pop up, we fix them, but it's like, yo, I ain't never lived here, so I don't know, right? So it's a learning process for the both of us. Being transparent, I think when I was first in the landlord game, everybody wants you to be so stern and so all of this stuff, and it's like, you ain't got to treat these people that bad, you know what I'm saying? But those are people that was just looking to get $1 out of these people, and I'm looking to make money, but they live here, their kids live here, so obviously they want this some type of way. You have to hold them to a standard too. They can't be complaining about stuff and the whole house dirty. This is your problem. These creatures that's around here, I ain't never lived here, so I don't know where these creatures came from, but when I look through your house, it don't seem the cleanest to me. I mean, after you kind of get used to it and get adjusted to it, it's not a big deal at all. Like, especially when you cash flowing, you might pick up the phone for them 2 times a month, but you making $2,000 a month. I take that any day.
So talk to me about the type of services that you provide. Like, what are you hands-on doing with your rental properties versus what do you contract out? And I know this is going to look different for every landlord or every real estate investor or entrepreneur.
So now I don't do much of anything. So I basically go collect rent. I go look at the problem. So I have a visual of what's going on. But after that, I'm calling one of my contractors to come out and take care of that issue. Before, it was like when I didn't have the cash flow or anything like that, I had to figure out how to do drywall, how to do toilets, how to fix these things and all of that. But after the cash flow started to come in, it's like, all right, I can just pay somebody for the convenience of doing this, right? And so I suggest, like, hey, if you even gonna buy a property, like, you should just doing a property management company, right? Like, that could be most convenient. Now your phone ain't never ringing. You just getting a check at the end of the month and an invoice for what went wrong. Those checks may vary. That invoice, you might have been able to fix that, but you have the convenience of that company going to take care of it.
Yes, it gives you peace of mind to have somebody else managing a majority of stuff. What is your greatest challenge with any of your entrepreneurial endeavors? So whether it's owning the clothing line, BAC Print, or, the real estate landlord stuff.
Growth is always a challenge. So one day it could be employees. The next day it could be bringing business in, trying to get employees to stick around and see the vision and see the plan. Right now I have a business mentor. She's really hands-on. She's really doing a really, really good job of increasing our business and helping us grow and helping us elevate. I'm in that program called Elevate, so it's helping us elevate. You get to some of these bigger numbers that we doing, year over year. And it's how do I compete with this number next year? I mean, 2020 is the only year we've ever backstepped because of COVID, but anything else we've grown.
So I know you participated in a couple programs in the Grand Rapids area. Which one did you find value in, or which one would you recommend that other entrepreneurs participate in?
I find value in all of them through the networks of them. Some of them are more valuable in lessons wise. That depends on where your business is. A lot of people get on there and compare their businesses to other businesses and don't understand that some people's businesses in that program have been businesses for 6-7 years, so they're veterans, and y'all just a startup. It's gonna hit different. People are gonna take the lessons differently, and how do you digest lessons in coaching? I think the networks and the back ends of them are amazing, especially within Grand Rapids, and the support in Grand Rapids I think is growing. The only thing I'm very weary about in some of these programs is the coaches. They don't really have real businesses, but they're coaching businesses, which is weird to me. But at the same time, it's one of those things that maybe every NBA coach ain't played in the NBA, so he or she don't really have to play in the sport to really, you know what I'm saying, be able to lead you.
I'm thinking you about to say, oh, these are my top 3 programs for people in the Grand Rapids area, but you gave me a whole other perspective, and that's fine.
Do them all, right? If you're an entrepreneur, do them all. Be in the room. Star Garden gave me 20,000. Do 100 ideas every year. Right, at least you'll make 1,000 off of it. Spring GR is it's a 3-month program. Why not do it, right? Then as your business grows, I think there's a 250 program. I'm in Elevate now, so as everything grows, they have programs for your business.
All right, so now we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna play another game. This game is called For the Culture. What is your favorite TV show or movie with a predominantly Black cast?
Of course, like Fresh Prince. Low key, a fire one is like Girlfriends. Insecure was amazing. I don't watch a ton of TV, so like I ain't never like really watched Power. I'm just on my entrepreneur grind, so I listen to a lot of interviews. So like that's how I get my digest of 50 Cent is like through his interviews, because he gives a lot.
What is your favorite podcast that's created and distributed by a person of color?
Yours, of course. And so, but I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts. So I watch interviews and then I go about my day. Watch interviews. So like the Breakfast Club, it has to be like important people that's dropping knowledge. I don't really listen to like the funny ones. So like it has to be like a Jay-Z or a Diddy, a 50 Cent, Nipsey. I go back and his is prophetic. Like he was so far ahead. I listen to a lot of like interviews and like research a lot of interviews and wish like more people would do interviews with these big artists, but I understand that they like just not available like that.
I feel like the problem with these big artists is that they're wasting time with people who not even for the culture. Like publicity stunt. What is that girl name who's trending? Drake did an interview with her and she said something corny, acting like she didn't know none of his songs. Danny,
like Bobby yeah. Or something like that. Yeah, I ain't see that one. You know what I'm saying? Like I watched all of the other Drake things, but it's like, all right, that's for fun and kicks and giggles. Like, I ain't really get too much into it. I think that like just for Drake, he for every culture, really. Like, so I mean, you can't really just tag him into Black people. Like he has a white side too. So, I mean, he's pretty much for every single culture. So that's good for his audiences and some of his demand. But
she did interviews with other rappers. And it's like, That's clearly not your target audience. That's not your demographic. She's not going to know your catalog. Yes, there is value in sitting down with different people. But why would a big name artist like take time to do the interview with her if she's not going to tap into what we really want to know? Like whether it's your story, how you got to where you at, gems that you could share with people, your projects, the evolution of your career, your talents, all that. Like if she's just going to do stuff for publicity, what's the point of even sitting down with her? If you need publicity and clout, that's one thing. But I feel like I guess it just comes down to what are you hoping to get out of an interview? And
I feel like the artists are hoping to get something out of her, right? Her hoping that they get to a new audience that don't really listen to them or hear them. Is like, oh, okay, like I feel Offset did one, right? So now people that didn't really listen to Offset, he has a certain audience, so he's trying to appeal to another audience, and you can do it through this person, right? This person had Drake, so she's gonna get millions of views just you coming after Drake. I think that's their angle on it, and it's something fun for them to do that. I mean, when it comes to marketing, you got to shoot your shot, figure it out from there. So it's like one of those things that's like, it could be a good collab for them and get them more listeners or more streams or more fans of like, oh, he did it. Let me listen to his thing type deal.
And then Offset was talking trash about her. He told her she was unseasoned. Did you see that part? That viral clip?
Yeah.
Like, wow, you gonna insult your interviewer? I mean, it probably did the job of getting views on the interview, getting
Right.
more clicks, a viral
Right.
moment. But I was just like, wow. So you said you listened to my show. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Tell the viewers why they should subscribe to the Currency Club.
Really, because you're interviewing people that are really within the industry and really doing what they say they doing. I mean, especially if you have me on here. I've been avoiding doing interviews for like a year. You're interviewing real people doing real things within the community, within the culture, people who really want to like teach how to make money, how to grow, how to do all of these things. So I think the Currency Club is super dope. And then the visuals and the marketing of it is amazing too, right? Like it's really dope. Like the logo, the t-shirts, all of that stuff. Like those are really dope. I don't think I printed the Currency Club t-shirts and I still think they dope. This is definitely something that you should definitely tune in and like get hip to it.
When you are down, stressed, tired, been working all day, what song or artist instantly puts you in a good mood?
Jeezy, J. Cole, Jay-Z, and Nipsey. I couldn't give you like a specific song. I'm more motivated by like the artist and then the body of work and then the aura around these people, the respect they get from their communities.
Thank you for your time, your energy, your expertise, and everything that was shared today. Before you go, I need you to leave the viewers with an inspirational message.
Don't be afraid to grow. Don't be afraid to move forward, get bigger. You'll outgrow friendships, you'll outgrow family, but don't be afraid to grow. It's all a part of life. Say hi to Chastity.
Thank you, Jovan. And to all of the viewers and listeners, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the club.